Hey everyone, this is Rob from StageInTheSky.com, and this video is not going to be a happy one. This isn't very upbeat. I just needed to get my thoughts down about something that's very fresh, something that's very real that happened with me personally. And I sad to say, like, my mom always talks about how I should go and talk to a therapist, but I don't know, I might. Over this past Christmas, like days before Christmas, I lost my cousin. My cousin who was like a little sister to me, right? I'm gonna go into details because I hate to call her. She has a brother, she has a sister, but I was there when she was a baby. I was there when she was growing up. I was there. I mean, every time they called, they needed something, if it was within my power, I did what I could to help them out. And I really doted on this girl, man. Like, there are people who, like, it's family, you love all your family members. I don't have that mentality. I really don't. When it comes to family, they say, oh, you can't pick and choose. I pick and choose my family. And in my world, I don't have a big heart. That's all right. So there's a lot of crap that's gonna come out. Not very Christian of me, but it's just the truth. I don't have a big heart. I say I love a lot of people. I say I care about a lot of people. I want everyone to be saved when it comes to Christ. But when it comes to people I actually love and cherish in my heart, there aren't that many people in this world. I say there's always been a top three. That's my cousin Autumn, my cousin Alyssa, and my mother. Autumn was killed last month in December 2022, and I just went to the funeral last week, so again, it's very fresh. All right, let me go in order. I'm sorry, that's just a preface. Let me go in order. Okay, so December 20th was, I think, the Tuesday. My cousin was killed on Monday. Basically, what's happened was she was helping a female friend move from a domestic situation, and the guy came home, shot my cousin, killed his girl, who was also pregnant at the time, and then killed himself. So it was a murder-suicide. And that happened on a Monday. That Tuesday, I'm at work. I get a group text from my mother saying, terrible news, Autumn's been killed. I'm 36, right? Like, grown men, we don't cry. We're very masculine. That when I saw that, I couldn't believe it. It was so surreal. Like, you see in the movies where, you want to wake up now. Because I've had very messed up nightmares where it's like that. And you're like, okay, let me wake up now. It's a dream. Let's press the reset button. But it was real. I call my dad because I didn't know how to react. I was still at work. I was still on the clock. But I'm like, I can't focus now. I call my dad. I didn't have a lot of details. And while I'm talking to my dad, my mom replies with the details of how she got killed. And man, I just lost it. I couldn't. It was so painful. Like, it was so painful. Cried a lot, cried all day. Went to the law firm. I didn't work. I just went just to get out of the condo. Cried all day. My brothers called me. I called my the other cousin, the other one who I'm really close with. Her name's Alyssa. I had no words, no words to console her. This happened in Colorado Springs. I'm in Tampa, so I'm like hundreds of miles away. I'm looking at the flights, and because it's fucking Christmas, the flights are all booked and the hotels are booked, and it made me hate Christmas. It really did. Because everyone, it's Christmas. Everyone, so it's like, but it was the worst Christmas of my life. And then, so when it comes to the funeral that happened, I drove up to North Carolina for the funeral. I thought because it's been so many weeks since she was killed in December, that, okay, I got all the tears out of my eyes and all is well, I'm prepared for it. And I went in there, I saw the open casket, I saw my beautiful cousin. She was only 26. Only 26. It wasn't, she was the first of my generation, meaning I have my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, and then it's us grandkids. And she was the first of my generation to die. And she was one of my favorites. I would say, I call her my lead singer because very often when I'm on the treadmill and I'm working out, I'm listening to rock music and there's a female vocalist. I pretend, or I dream that I'm the lead guitarist in the band and my lead singer is her, Autumn. And I lost her, so I went to the funeral, I saw the open casket. It was just brutal, fucking tough. At the funeral, there were some things that exacerbated the pain. Alyssa, the other cousin, they're like little sisters to me. She was there. I didn't want to cry in front of her. Men supposed to be strong. I don't want her to. The man spirit kind of plays in my mind when it comes to stupid shit like that too, man. Because they're like, oh well, you cry in front of. She's not my woman like that, but still, I like to think of myself as a tough guy for her. But I think I cried more than her. And it's this very rotten, stupid feeling to have all these things running through your head. And then I'm watching, there's this PowerPoint presentation that's above the funeral, like during the funeral service, and it's like a slideshow of Autumn, and like it's pictures of Autumn with different cousins and family members. And I kid you not, this is gonna sound really stupid and petty in my part. There was not one single picture of me and Autumn in that slideshow. My aunt, who was in charge of putting the photos together, she had one of my little brother, who's 34, so he's not little, but he's younger than me, and he had one of my older brother with Autumn. There's probably dozens of pictures of me and Autumn. She and I were very, very close, more closer than me and my brothers. I was the closest to her than my brothers. No, there was not one single photo. That sounds really petty, but when I was watching it, I'm like, why don't I see myself here? Am I not that important? That's sad to say, but I was thinking that, like, am I not that important? Am I not that important in her life? Was I not that important to my aunt that she didn't want to put up, or didn't, it's no big deal to have Rock excluded, have these other pictures, but not Rock? That, I didn't realize that during the service, believe it or not. It's not like I sat there and thought, oh, me. No, during the service, I was just trying to hold it together. I didn't break out like, oh, but I felt like throwing the fucking chair out the window. Like, the rage and anger is just there, man. Like, that's one of my vices. I have violent thoughts. I don't do drugs. I don't engage in hookup culture. But I have, that's why I do boxing. That's why I work out. That's why I listen to metal music, because I have violent thoughts, and it all just keeps me in check, When someone pushes me or someone's testing me, I get up and walk out of the room. You don't want to see the monster come out. So when people try to corner me, that's when it gets violent, because I'm trying to get out and trying to leave. Anyways, at the funeral, it was just rage, man. It was just very, very angry. Like, the guy who killed, he's a piece of shit. I don't even want to memorize his name. I just call him a piece of shit that killed my cousin. Because he didn't need to do that. She had nothing to do with the situation. She was just there, wrong place, wrong time, and he didn't need to do that. So all of that said, I do want to talk a little bit about pain. I'm going to talk about my cousin. I had to get the negative stuff out the way so I can end it on a good note. Right, almost done with the negative stuff. The other thing that compounds the pain a little bit, because like the whole, the slideshow and realizing I wasn't the slideshow, that didn't hit me until the next day. So I'm not a narcissist. It didn't hit me till the next day. I'm driving home. It's a 9-hour drive from North Carolina back to Tampa. So you're reflecting on everything that's happened. You're reflecting on all the conversation. That's how I roll. I don't, I'm by myself, So when you're by yourself, you analyze yourself. You analyze what happened. You put pieces together. Like, you start to do that. And a lot of people say, oh, well, maybe it's in your head. Maybe it's not. No. When you're 36 and you've been through enough stuff, you trust your instincts. You know exactly what happened. I think my aunt was very petty to leave me out. I think that she did that on purpose. I'm going to forgive her. I'm not going to call her on about it because she will lie to me. I think she will do that. That's all right. That's just who she is. I love her regardless, but it's bullshit that she did that. If you're watching this, sorry, no one told you to watch it. But the other thing that was very difficult drive home was the remaining cousin, Alyssa. So there's Autumn and then there's Alyssa. Alyssa, if you're watching this, you better turn this off, because I'm gonna say a lot of very painfully honest stuff, and I just had to get out of my system. Alyssa is probably the one girl I love the most in this world, like hands down. If something were to happen to her, I don't know if I have the strength to continue on. There's not a lot that I care about in this world, man. So when I was leaving her, it was very sad to see her go, to leave her, you know, because I was thinking to myself, is this the last time I'm going to see you? Just like it was the last time I saw Autumn, you know? And then there's a rotten feeling where you kind of want to detach yourself from the feelings you have for her. This is how I'm thinking, you know, like, because I love her so much, you know, I don't want to go through this pain again. So it's like I kind of want to let go of the love I have for her just so I can avoid that pain, you know, like. I know it sounds stupid, right? Like, you don't want to love anyone because this was so awful. When I drove back to Tampa, I immediately got to work because I know that's a remedy. That's my medicine for me. When I am super in pain or just tortured or depressed, I throw myself into work, where I'm writing or working on a video or essay, just to keep my mind focused. Teddy Roosevelt said it best, you know, dark care rarely sits behind a rider whose pace is fast enough. You don't know what that means. Teddy Roosevelt lost his mother and his first wife in the same night back in the 1800s. So he went out west and threw himself into the rough and tumble of the Western lifestyle, and it took his mind off of that pain. Me, it was kind of the same thing. I just threw myself into work, and this is the saddest thing. I knew. I was afraid of going to sleep last night. I got home last night, got to work, trying to focus. I was afraid of going to sleep because I knew the pain. I knew how my mind works. I'm a writer because I have a great imagination, but the curse to that is that you end up seeing things, like, especially when you're tired and depressed, you don't have the strength to focus your mind. You end up seeing things you don't want to see. Your mind shows you replays and just I imagine my mother in the casket, the same casket that I saw Autumn in. That night, I tried to go to sleep. I put on the TV, tried to watch some Rick and Morty. As I'm trying to go to sleep, I'm literally in tears, crying myself to sleep. Because I'm thinking about Autumn. I'm thinking about how much I love Alyssa. I'm thinking about how I can't tell anyone this because, one, who would understand? Two, it's the middle of the fucking night. You know, so I just bear it. You know, you just bear that pain. And this is one of the curses of being alone. You know, this is, and I say I'm built for it, but it is tough. There are days like this where you do wish you have someone. You wish you had, you know, someone to lean on, someone that you could talk to, someone who's there to comfort you and support you. That's why in my post about the Manosphere coming up, you know, I think it's very stupid for people to have the mentality of you can't talk to your future wife about your, you know, your thoughts and your feelings because you want to maintain frame, so to speak. And it's like, what's the point of having you then? You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, you want someone who's your mother. No, I'm looking for someone who's nurturing. If that means that she's a mother-like figure, then yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Sorry. Silly, I know, right? But last night I cried myself to sleep, woke up at 3 o'clock, and I had the worst nightmare. I had a nightmare about my stepdad. It was so vivid. I had a nightmare about my stepdad, and I'm seeing it almost like it's Call of Duty, like it's first person point of view. He's doing something. He has cable wires, and he's climbing up on a water tower all the way to the top, and for some reason he tries to jump a gap. Like, think The Dark Knight Rises, where Bruce Wayne is jumping the gap to get out of that hole. My stepfather tries to do that for some reason. And then the cord gets wrapped around his neck, and he hangs right in front of me. This is how fucked up my imagination is. And when you have no control, when you're so tired and depleted that you can't focus. I saw that, I woke up and prayed to God. I felt like this was Satan and his demons attacking me in the middle of my sleep right there. It's like they're kicking you when you're down, you know. And I prayed, I asked God, give me the strength, please help me overcome. Turn on TV. This was at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to wake up and turn on the TV again just to give me some kind of, it's a very torturous thing. And I just had to endure. I endured that alone. I did not call anyone today. Who on earth was I going to talk to about that? So I knew when I woke up this morning. That's why I posted a video about the hookup culture. I said I needed a win. I needed a win. I've been beat down and tortured and crying for weeks. I hadn't published anything ever since my cousin died. I woke up this morning and I said I needed a win. So I got to work. I published 2 essays on my Stage in the Sky website. I recorded the video, I finished that video, I published that video on YouTube, then I went to work out. I just got back from the gym, and I mean, the only reason I'm doing this video right now is just so I can get it on my system. I was gonna write a post about a tribute to Autumn, but let me just do this and get it out of my system. For those who say, oh, why are you crying on the internet? You don't have to watch, man. You know, keep scrolling, back out. All right, so that's all the negative stuff. Let me talk some good stuff about Autumn. Like, if I had to, you know, they called us up, do you want to say anything positive about Autumn? This is what I would say about Autumn, just because, like, she really, I didn't choose her. Let me say that. Let me start with that. I didn't choose. It's not like I just woke up one day. I think I'm going to choose to love you and you and you and nobody else. It's not like that. When I first met her, I was 10 years old. This was 1997, the summer of 1997. And I wasn't doing too well. Basically, me and my dad was having problems. My mom usually during the summertime, I would go and spend the summer with my dad. But that summer, I chose not to go because I was feeling a type of way because I was very light skinned, and, you know, people were making fun of me on my dad's side of the family because I was, you know, oh, he sounds like a white boy. Now, all of that's not that big a deal. They didn't mean well. I forgave them. A lot of it was my mother also playing tricks on mine. Look, see, your dad's showing favoritism. So my mom's kind of pushing it too. So it's not just my dad's fault. Either way, I was not in the best headspace that summer. We were relocating from Fort Hood, Texas to Georgia. So they sent me to live with my Aunt Carly in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And for the first 2 weeks of June, when my aunt went to go work, she would drop me off from another aunt's house. And there it was the first day, obviously not the best headspace. I'm laying down on the couch, not knowing what to do, 10 years old, you know, no aspirations. And here comes this little baby, little toddler. Autumn, exactly 10 years younger than me. So she had to be coming up on her first year, you know, because she was born in June. And I saw her for the first time, blue eyes, blonde hair. She didn't have blue eyes, but looked blue to me. Pretty blue eyes, pretty eyes, like they shimmered. And she had my toy in her mouth. And back then I was very particular, like territorial about my toys. But for some reason, just having her look at me with the toy in her mouth, just smiling, like, man, like my heart melted. Like there was something about this kid that's like, who are you, little girl? You know, like she just, and that happened multiple times that summer. You know, my aunt would come and drop her off, you know, when I'll be asleep, and sure enough, Autumn would come and just crawl over me and just stare down at me, and I'd be kind of traumatized because I don't want her drooling on me. But I was sleeping on the floor at times, so I had to keep just watching her, like, please don't come and spit on my face. But she was just so adorable, and I just loved her. And then Alyssa was born that same month, you know, like a couple weeks later. And just over the years, man, like as they grew up, they ended up becoming more like my little sisters. You know, they lived like a couple hours away on Charleston, Columbia, South Carolina, and we lived in Augusta, Georgia. So we were always visiting them. I could tell you some very funny stories that Autumn did when she was a little baby or a toddler. She used to play with my afro a lot. And I don't want to say on video what she used to do with my afro, but I remember looking in the mirror, I'm like, what did you do, Autumn? Man, she was just so mischievous, and, you know, she just cracked up, and I couldn't be mad at her. Like, it was just so funny, you know? So I loved her to death, man. And as she grew up, you know, like, there were things that she would get in trouble a lot. You know, she did some things that were very, I would say, controversial, but because I knew her so well at that point in time, it was very easy for me to forgive her, and very often I was in her corner backing her up and defending her, saying, it's all right, she's just a kid, whatever, you know? One funny story, I'll say this, but when Autumn and Alyssa, they were little toddlers, because my brothers were brutal, you know, like you tripped and fell, they were laughing, get yourself up, we would rip on each other, we're brutal. But when it comes to these little girls who are like little sisters to me, there was one time we went to visit my grandparents in North Carolina, and Alyssa, the youngest one, fell down like the little trench, the drainage trench down by the road where, you know, like some root, and it scraped the inside of her thigh. She must have been like 4 or 5 at the time. And I was like, oh, what the hell? What happened? And Autumn's crying. She's full of tears. I'm thinking, what happened to you, Autumn? Because the way she was crying, like you hurt, what's going on? And she wasn't crying for herself. She was crying for Alyssa. Like, she was so concerned about Alyssa. It was just the funniest thing. I'm like, this is unheard of. My brothers would be like laughing at me. But here Autumn was crying for Alyssa. And it just melts in my heart. When you see things like that, it's just, they're innocent. Like a lot of us men, when it comes to masculine nature, it's like when you see, like, it prompts you to want to lay down your life and sacrifice yourself for the innocent, the pure, you know? And for me, Autumn and Alyssa, they were pure. And Alyssa, when she had, you know, she had the script and she was like, it's okay, it's fine. And, you know, like that was Autumn and Alyssa. And as they grew up, you know, there was funny, it's a story about Alyssa. I'm not sure if I've told her this before, but, Autumn was my favorite. Like, she was number one in my life up until I think she was 11 years old. I was 21. We went to a family reunion in Charleston, or in Columbia, South Carolina, that her mom put together. And I used to make fun of her because she was 11. So I'm like, oh, you got a boyfriend yet? And she's like, Rock, stop. So I'm like, oh, okay. So you at that age now. All right, whatever. Bye. You know, just teasing her. She still, you know, means a lot to me. But Alyssa, this is why, again, so I don't know, maybe, I don't know if all men are like this, but Alyssa really, she kind of moved into that number one spot that visit, because during that visit, my mom and one of my aunts got into it. So my mom was crying and we're trying to console her. I'm full of rage, trying to just like, who do I gotta rip into? So I'm moving in and out of hotels. The whole reunion was at this hotel, and I'm moving out of hotel rooms. And I remember I went into my mom's hotel room. There were a whole bunch of female cousins, and then after when I was getting ready to leave, as soon as I left the door, they said, and there goes Alyssa. And I was like, what? And I turn around and look down, and there's little Alyssa. You know, she's probably 10 years old at the time, and she's just following me wherever I go. And for some reason, that just meant something to me. Just as they grew up, you know, they went to Colorado Springs. And, you know, Colorado Springs, they're so far, and I was going through college. I was going through my own stuff in my 20s. But, you know, I try to stay in touch, not as much as I like to. Every opportunity I could, you know, like their older brother's graduation, I was out there, 2009, boom. But the funniest thing is when they kind of grew up, right? So, because when they're kids, you know, you can only, hey, what's going on? You got a stuffed teddy bear? What's his name? Franklin? You know, you're talking about that kind of stuff. But I remember when Alyssa came of age, she was probably about 14 or 15. And I was coming back from my boss's radio show, and she called me. It was a number I didn't recognize, but it was Colorado. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And it was Alyssa, and she was in high school at the time, and she just started talking to me. I'm like, oh my God, is this you? Like, it was like, dude, it's like, you're talking like an adult. Like, it's so remarkable. I literally pulled over to the Target parking lot, canceled all my plans, and gave her my full undivided attention, just because it was so amazing to hear her talk. You know, like, she had grown up. I miss so much. You know, and then, of course, when Autumn graduated, I was out there in Colorado for that in 2014. And then when Alyssa graduated, I was out there for 2015, you know. And I, you know, every opportunity I could get, I would go out there. With Autumn, when she graduated, before she graduated, I wrote her this letter, you know, just telling her, you know, I'm really proud of you, and, you know, life's full of challenges, ups and downs, blah, 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 blah. And she didn't respond. That's the thing about these girls. Because usually when it comes to females, if I send you a text and you don't respond, usually I'm like, okay, that's it with you. I don't like that. I hate that so much, because my time is valuable. And if I give my thoughts, I know this sounds very, you know, like, oh, who do you think you are? My time is valuable. If I take time to send you a text, especially like when my heart's invested with people like this, and they didn't ask for us to love, right? They didn't ask, oh, Rock, I didn't ask to be your favorite, whatever, you know, but if I do, and you don't respond back, or you ignore me, or it's like a week later, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. It's like, that's kind of shitty thing to do. And these cousins have done that a lot, you know. It's like, if they were anyone else, I would have canceled them a long time ago. Like, I would have said, all right, I can't hang with you. You know, like, I just can't, because this sucks. And it sucks because this is what other females were doing in real life to me. And, you know, like, them, it's easy. I can just cut y'all off and be like, okay, moving on to the next one. But with these cousins, because I know them for so long and they're like little sisters to me, I couldn't just say, you know, it's a very bitch move to do, right? To say, man, you ain't texting me back, so I ain't calling you, I ain't your friend anymore. But that's kind of how I felt for a long time. Like, there were months where I wouldn't text them or call them because they didn't respond back, you know. And it's like, you don't feel like, when I'm made to feel like I'm not important, it's a crappy thing. If you haven't gathered anything from this video, that's one of the things. If it feels like I'm not important, if you make me feel like I'm not important, or you do things to signify that that I'm not a big deal in your life, I pull away. That doesn't entice me. I don't work harder to draw close to you. The same with females. Like, oh, I'll make him feel like he's jealous by, flirting with another guy. I'm gone. That's just not who I am. It's a very crappy thing to do to someone. And I think a lot of people do that intentionally. I'm not sure if my cousins did it intentionally. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I didn't think about whether or not they did it intentionally. I just know that they did it. And it was painful. But whatever, I love them regardless, and I stayed in touch. Autumn, I didn't hear from her. Like, Autumn, when she was pregnant, that's another thing for those who don't know, she was a mother. She had a 6-year-old daughter at the time. When I found out she was pregnant, I was in the movies. It was like 2016, and I was just gonna enjoy myself, having a good day, and sitting down watching the movie, and then I get a text from Autumn, and I think it's either a picture of a sonograph, ultrasound, or she just straight up told me that she's pregnant, and it ruined the whole night. Like, I was sitting there just like gonna enjoy my movie. I'm like, oh my god, she's about to be a single mother. But eventually I just warmed up to the idea. It's like, okay, I know she's gonna be a good single mother, or a good mother at least. I hope she gets married, but I know she's gonna be a good mother, and I think she'll excel in it, because when I talked to her face to face, there wasn't a lot of ambition as far as what she wants to do with her life. She had a lot of talents, a lot of hobbies, but when it comes to like career, or something that she didn't really have that. So I knew that her being a mom would be that purpose, give her purpose in life. So I was happy for her. I even put together like a care package. I bought a whole bunch of diapers, some candy for her, and I sent it to her. And I heard that she said thank you. I don't remember, sad to say, her actually calling me up and saying thank you. I think they might have texted and said they got it, but it wasn't until after Autumn died that Alyssa told me that she was so happy. And it's, I don't do it for the validation. I didn't do it for love me. I did it because I really just wanted to show them that you are loved. Like, whether or not you love me or make me feel important or not, like Autumn and Alyssa and my mother, those people, those are the only ones who I really do love unconditionally. Like, you could rob a bank, you could spit in my face, say, if you rock, I don't need you anymore, and I would back off, but it wouldn't stop me from loving you. I mean, I know it sounds mushy, but that's kind of how it is, and it kind of sucks because, like, again, I didn't choose them. I didn't pick and choose. It just happened that way. In my room, they talk about closure. There's no closure. I have her on my wall. Every day when I walk out this room, I have my goals written down. These goals are going to change every day, but my boss told me write down my goals so I can remember and keep the focus there. But I'll never forget this. And it was painful to see her in her casket, and I still have the memories of that. It doesn't matter. I'm going to remember her. I'm going to think about her for the rest of my life. If God does bless me with a wife and we have children and it's a girl, I'm going to probably petition my wife to say, hey, let's name her Autumn. Autumn is a beautiful name, and Autumn once had the place in my heart. So if this is a little girl that we have, let's name her Autumn. If she feels strongly otherwise, of course I compromise, but still, that is my desire. She was very special to me. She really was. Alright, man. I just wanted to share that. So I probably won't do an essay on it or whatever. This video will probably be enough. This is, I guess, my closure, just to get it out of my system. Oh, right, you gotta call someone, you gotta talk to somebody. Who? And then when they do talk, they're like, who? What would they say? And it's not their people's fault. I'm just a special case, right? Who could I explain all this to and they understand or not? Like, at the funeral, like, one of them, his name is Greg. This is my cousin Tanette's husband. He was doing his damnedest to really cheer me up, and I thank him for it. I gotta call him up and just thank him, because he was trying his best, but it's like none of his words worked. Like, nothing could stop that pain. Nothing could stop the tears from coming last night. Nothing. the fire in my heart just now, like when I see this picture, it motivates me, like this. Never forget that. I mean, this woman named Betty at my gym, she's like, Rock, do you hate God? Because some people, when people pass, they say they hate the God. I'm like, I don't hate God. I hate this world. This world is run by Satan, so I hate Satan. I hate all of those who give in to Satan's temptation. And that sounds really bad, right? It's like you're not supposed to hate the sinner. You're supposed to hate the sin. It's really difficult because the loneliest thing about being on this planet is when you feel like you're the only one playing by the rules. It's like you feel like you're the chump. You feel like everyone's, they're getting ahead in life, because they've cheated, they engage in casual sex. They, they're breaking God's commandments, and here I am trying my best to live by God's commandments, and it's tough, but it's all right. To the day I die, I'm going to keep striving. I'm going to keep enduring. And if you're out there and you're like me, you've gone through it, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm bitching and moaning. I'll never stop though. Yesterday was one of the most painful days of my life. Death would have been sweet, but it won't be by my hand. As long as I live, I motivation, Satan took my girl from me, man. I'm attacked back. Every essay, every video I post is an attack on this world and Satan and his wicked system of things. And I'm not giving in. Rock, you gotta do this. Rock, you gotta give it the time. Rock, you gotta get the program. You're too conservative. You're too traditional. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all things be added unto you. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all things be added unto you. I hope I can see my cousin again. Alright, I'm gonna go.